Hi, everybody. My name is Janine. I want to tell you about a bad habit of mine that made my life go upside down. Some people smoke, drink, and wash their hands every 2 minutes. And then there's me, who's pulling out the hair on my head. And the main thing is, why? My answer will surprise you. In the meantime, give me a nickname, write any smiley face in the comments, and subscribe to this channel. Here, meet me. I'm 5 years old here. I'm sitting there all so pretty. I just sat down to a cookie that my mom wouldn't let me eat. And I'm sitting there nervous, like what's gonna happen when she finds out? And she's bound to find out that it was me who ate it because that's when I got this nasty thing about me. I became a fucking walking lie detector. Janine, did you eat the cookies? No. And immediately my nerve-shaking hands reached for the hair on my head and started tearing and ripping it. I was in terrible pain, but at that moment, it felt like my hands weren't listening to me. It was as if they belonged to another person and were just tearing apart my hair. This was a clear signal that I was lying. I was simply not allowed to lie. When it happened again and again, I just decided I wasn't going to lie anymore. I would always tell the truth. At least that way I would keep my hair intact. But in some ways I was lucky. Despite the harsh treatment of my hair, it grew out amazingly beautiful, shiny, perfectly flat, and thick. My mother herself was amazed. Such beauty I grew, and I delighted the eyes of all the people around me. But if you think that the troubles are over, then you're deeply mistaken, because my troubles, in fact, have just begun. During my school years, I had time to change about 10 schools. That is, sometimes I changed 2 to 3 schools per year. Do you know why? Because no one wanted to be friends with someone who always tells the truth. I remember once in class, the kids were not prepared for the test. They said that if we say that we were not warned, there would be no test, and the teacher would just cancel it. But I couldn't lie, remember? I warned the guys that it could end badly. Nothing will happen. We'll just pretend she didn't report it, and that's it. I looked at my hands, which were beginning to feel tingly with nerves. I was faced with the choice of lying or telling the truth, so I decided that I would just keep quiet. That way, I wouldn't lie. The teacher hesitated to say that she had not warned us and called out my name. Janine, will you please stand up and tell me if I really didn't tell you to prepare for this test? I stood up from my seat. All my classmates were looking at me. I was nervous. I wanted to lie, not to be an outcast, not to be called a rat by the guys, not to be left out. And then my hand, already out of habit, grabbed one of the strands discreetly and started pulling at it. It hurt so much that I cried, and then I blurted out, "The guys weren't prepared for the test. They offered to say that you didn't say anything so they wouldn't have to write it. But personally, I'm ready for it." I opened my eyes and saw massive disdain. Only someone who's been through something like this can imagine how nightmarish it feels on your body. I opted for my hair, but from then on, I was alone. More alone than wolves in the woods. From the homesickness and the constant taunts and hatred from my classmates, I again asked my mother to transfer me to another school. Since I had no friends, I did well in school, even though I frequently changed them. I never told anyone about my habit. But then the last school year came, and my mother asked me to finish my studies at one school and not to jump from place to place, because my parents were sick of changing homes, cities, and jobs with me. I saw that they were tired, like I was, so I decided that even if no one communicates with me, I will finish my studies at this new school. So when I transferred, the class welcomed me quite cordially. I was immediately approached by a beautiful girl. She was rich, and it was noticeable. She was attracted to my hair and immediately asked what kind of shampoo I wash it with. So we started talking. After a couple of minutes, someone with very blue eyes and an incredibly beautiful face walked into the classroom. God, he was beautiful. I immediately fell in love with him. My new classmate named Scarlett called him. "Hey, Tony, your place is at the back. Because of you, I can't see anything in front of me. Stop sitting there." "It's not my fault you're the shortest in the family." "And you're the dumbest." Tony laughed. I asked Scarlett who he was, and she said he was her twin brother, but they were so different. Scarlett continued to ask questions about my hair and then touched it with her hand. It made me feel uncomfortable. "Don't touch it." "Why?" "I don't like it." "What? You can't even touch it? Or is it something else?" I didn't want to tell the truth, but I couldn't lie either. While I was standing there thinking of options, Tony came up. He kicked his sister into her place and told her to get away from me, because she still had a long way to go before she got my hair. Then he smiled at me, and I almost choked. The butterflies in my stomach immediately fluttered. The next class was chemistry. While I found the classroom, I was a little late, and the teacher told me to sit next to Tony since he was in my class. In my class? Wow, I was going to be his chemistry date. How cool is that? I blushed blindly, sat down next to him, and we got down to our assignments. Tony took care of all the dirty work, but since we were both good at chemistry, we had a great experiment. We noticed how pissed off his sister was, but we didn't care, and we flirted openly, and I loved it. A few days later, Tony invited me to his birthday party, and I happily agreed. But I didn't know what to get him, although I wanted to make a special gift. Maybe it wasn't the best idea, but I went to Scarlett for advice. She promised to help, but she said she'd tell me everything at her party that weekend, which I had to go to. The party was at her house, so I was hoping I'd see Tony there and just get out of there. But Tony wasn't there. He was away on business with his parents. Scarlett's party was fun at first. Music, ice cream, gossiping about school and teachers. And then Scarlett started talking about my hair again. She said that if I told my secret of why it was so beautiful, she would tell me what Tony wanted most for his birthday, something that even his parents didn't know. This intrigued me greatly, but I couldn't tell her that my hair had gotten that way after going through an atomic war with me. Then Scarlett poured everyone champagne, and I got drunk very quickly, relaxed a little, and the witch immediately started asking questions about my hair. I lied and said it was just genetic. But the champagne glass fell out of my hand and I grabbed my own hair and started pulling it out in shreds. I screamed in pain, and the girls were all scared, my hair all over Scarlett's room. I ran outside. A car was pulling up with Tony and his parents, and I ran even faster out of shame. I didn't want him to see me like this, half bald. I texted Scarlett and asked her not to tell anyone, but the bitch had videotaped me and circulated it to the class. I didn't show up to school for days. I was ashamed and sick of myself. I also missed Tony's birthday party. I couldn't go there looking like that. Then I calmed down, put my hat on, and remembered my promise to my mom that I would finish the year. So I decided to just walk around in a hat and not talk to anyone. But as soon as I got to school, I walked into chemistry class and Tony, my classmate, was waiting for me. I didn't want to talk to him, but Tony said it was okay. He took my hand and wiped the tears from my face and told me that I was still very pretty and he had some issues, too. Scarlett came up to us and called me crazy and ripped my hat off, but Tony wouldn't let her. He told his sister not to come near me. Scarlett's boyfriend stood up for her and Tony just punched him, then grabbed my hand and we ran out of class. Then he drove me away from school, opened the trunk of the door, and I saw dozens of door handles torn off. What is that? Every time I check the locks 10 times before I go out. It causes frequent breakdowns. That's how crazy I am. You're not the only one. Everyone has something. But my hair. I tear my hair out when I lie. And our teacher, Mr. Friend, farts when he sees the principal. What do you think is better? That was hilarious. I laughed and Tony said I had a great laugh and asked me to smile more often. And then he offered to do something for tomorrow's chemistry class. He told me the plan. I thought it was cruel at first, but this was revenge for Scarlett, and I had to do something about it. That morning, we went into the classroom and messed up the liquid. Scarlett came up to us and took our test tubes away. She said she'd use them. Tony knew she'd do it because she'd failed a couple of past classes, and therefore copied our assignment. When our teacher approached her, Scarlett added one last liquid and poof! She went into tears. No one was hurt except her eyebrows and eyelashes. They fell out. Scarlett had a tragedy, but I was laughing. Tony reassured me and said they'd grow back soon. Angry Scarlett pinned me against the wall and yelled that it was my fault. She knew I couldn't lie, that I'd start pulling my hair out right away, and I said, "No, it wasn't us. You mixed up the liquid." For the first time in my life, I lied and just smiled. Scarlett frowned, but left me alone and went to the bathroom. Tony and I went outside, and I hugged him. "How did you come up with that? I never would have thought chewing gum could help." "It helped me. I was sure it'd help you too." And that's how I got rid of my horrible habit using gum. Tell me guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below the video. Don't forget to like it, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.